Hi, dear students. I hope everything is going fine. And now we are going to see from the continuation of our last lecture, and that was on developing a simple frequency distribution. Now, what we observed in our simple frequency distribution was that if we are going to have a large data set, then over there it's going to be a problem to just summarize the data. And we observe that we need some other method so that we can actually summarize the data and we can understand our data set. For that very purpose, today what we are going to learn is we are going to learn group frequency distribution. I'm going to continue with the last data set, and that last data set, as you remember, was upon the marks obtained by a class of 30 students. Now that data set is coming on your screen right now, and over here you can see the whole data set which we covered in the last lecture also. Now to construct a group frequency distribution, the very first step is we have to again organize the data. As organizing the data was covered in my last lecture, you can see the link that is coming up, and you can just observe that link over there, and you can find that how we arrange the data. Now, right now we have got the data in arranged form. And from arranged form, I mean that it is arranged in ascending order, from lowest to the highest value. Now, for proceeding further, let's first develop our concept of classes. In this retrospect, consider class as similar to folder, the folder in which we store documents. Now, for instance, you want to store 100 documents. And to store those 100 documents, there are two options for you. One, you can store all those 100 documents in one folder. And the second is that you can segregate those documents into different folders. And you can develop different folders for those 100 documents. If you store all the documents in one folder, it will get difficult for you to search for any particular document. And if you segregate the documents and store them in different folders, it will be easier for you to locate a particular document. Technically speaking, class is a combination of data values. And the data values for which we want to calculate a frequency distribution. We need to first calculate the range. To calculate the range, we need to see the highest value in our dataset and the lowest value in our dataset. Our dataset tells us that the highest value is 56 and the lowest value is 5. So range is the difference between the highest and the lowest value. And if we subtract 5, which is the lowest value, from the highest value, that is 56, we'll get range which will be equal to 51. Now we need to know the size of each of the class interval. Now you are already familiar with the concept that class interval corresponds to classes. So now first we have to determine that how many classes we want to have for this data set. As a matter of principle, we can select any number between 5 to 15. That is, we can have minimum of 5 classes or we can have a maximum of 15 classes. But this decision is not going to be arbitrary. It is going to be the data set which will dictate us how many classes we need to have. Now let us say that we want to go for 5 classes to cater to our data set. Now the range is 51 and we want to have 5 classes. So now we will be dividing 51 divided by 5. This will be telling us about the size of each class interval. This size is also known as width, and this size is also known as height of the class interval. And the size is going to tell us the values which are going to be stored in our classes. Now, after dividing 51 divided by 5, we got 10.2. It means the size of our class interval is going to be 10.2. We are going to round up this, and which means that the size of our class interval, it's going to be 11. Now we will start developing our class intervals. We are going to develop 5 class intervals as we are interested in 5 classes. We will start from the lowest value, and the lowest value in our dataset is 5. Now we will start counting from 5. We are not going to add 11 into 5. Rather than that, we will be start counting from 5 to the 11th value, which comes to be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So my 11th value comes at 15th. So first value is 5 and the 11th value is 15th. So my first class interval will be 5 to 15. In this class interval, 5 is the lower class limit and 15 is the upper class limit. Similarly, my next class interval will start from 16 and it will end on 26 after I have counted the 11 values to be stored in this class interval. Now you can see that we have developed all our 5 class intervals and we are ready to place the relevant values in these class intervals. To place the relevant values, we need to know the frequency of each class interval. Now, frequency of each class interval means that how many values are going to be stored in that particular class interval. So, frequency tells about the number of values that are going to be stored in one particular class interval. To know this thing, let's talk about the values corresponding that is from 5 class interval. So we can see over here, there are two values of 5, there are two values of 15, then there are other values. As we are finding the values from our data set, we are going to cross those values in the data set so that we may be knowing that we have recorded that value for our frequency distribution. Over here, you can also see how we are constructing the tally. So for developing the tally, when we get 4 values out of the data set, those 4 values will be represented by vertical dashes, and then the fifth value will be represented by a diagonal dash. So 4 values with vertical dashes, and then the fifth diagonal represents it as a combination of 5 values. Now we have got our tallies ready, and these tallies will tell us about the frequency of each associated class interval. Now let us start putting these frequencies alongside our class intervals. And this completes our lecture on group frequency distribution. If you have any questions or comments, do share with us in the comment section. Now our next video will be on the measure of central tendency, and we will be using the same data set for measure of central tendency. I hope that you have enjoyed our today's video segment. If you have enjoyed our today's video segment, do subscribe to the channel. If you have liked it very much, do give us a like, and if you think that many others can also be benefited from these videos, do share our videos.